This episode is brought to you by Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile has unlimited talk, text, and data plans for $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. To get this new customer offer, go to mintmobile.com/TFS. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month for first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Hello and welcome to Talk from Superheroes. Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Ivamy.
And I'm Diana McCullum.
And you're listening to Talk from Superheroes, where every week we discuss a piece of heroic television or film. And this week on the podcast, we are gearing up for the release of Furiosa, a Mad Max story.
So that's the next one.
So this week we're talking about Mad Max Fury Road.
This is some real Fast and Furious naming conventions we've got going on here.
Slightly.
That they're building into. The old Mad Max had a very normal, convention style, and now these new ones are Furiosa's a little weird.
It was Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, Mad Max 3, Beyond Thunderdome.
I don't know if they had numbers. I think they were just names.
Oh, maybe it was just, but either way, it was traditional, and then it was Mad Max Fury Road, and then the next one is Furiosa, a Mad Max story. I believe just largely for financial and legal disagreement reasons.
Oh, really? Not
Yes.
just for prequel purposes?
No, this is largely a financial battle between George Miller and MGM, I believe, is the distributor.
This is new information for me.
Yeah, you want the goss.
Give me the tea, if you will. Spill it everywhere.
The unverified goss coming from me as third-hand information.
Allegedly is what we're throwing in there?
Yeah, allegedly. Okay. Allegedly. I'm not legally accountable for any of the things that I say right now, allegedly. And you can all look this up online later to see the varying degrees of arguments and truth and lawsuits that have been involved in it. But part of the reason why it has taken now almost a decade to get another movie of the Mad Max Fury Road, a sequel to that.
When Fury Road was such a huge hit.
You would think, is that George Miller has been very mad because his financial agreement had to do with back end, which for those of you who don't know means profit off of the movie. And a thing that is very popular among movie studios over the past long time, and you can find many articles about it in many regards, is creative accounting. So MGM was stating that Mad Max, the Fury Road, and the entire franchise has never made any money ever.
We made 4 of them, but they've never made $1.
They've never been profitable, according to, I believe, MGM. And George Miller was like, well, I'm not making the next one. And it's been this whole huge dispute about I'm not making another one until I get the profit of that one. But they don't want to acknowledge that this film series is profitable, but they do desperately want him to make another film. So I think the only way they can do that is by changing the title so it is a spin-off series and not a continuation, because the original is still in debate whether it's profitable or not, and they don't owe royalties to George Miller, but I think he has a new financial agreement on what the new subtitles are, which are Mad Max Stories.
Boo. Boo to MGM or whichever company this is, because it's not open on our phones right now.
Yeah.
Creative accounting. It's like the fucking accountant with the nipple piercings in this movie. It's that guy. He's the accountant.
He is kind of the creative accountant in many ways.
This movie that we just watched.
Yeah. But this is the thing that has been happening in the film industry with a lot of different movies.
I know about creative accounting.
If you're interested in it, for our listeners, you can Google search movies, film industry, creative accounting. You'll find different examples of it where basically, the accounting department will throw whatever bloated bullshit that they want into what a movie cost in order to make sure it doesn't actually turn a profit so that they don't have to pay anyone royalties.
Yeah, nothing's ever been profitable, basically.
Yeah.
The only way to get money is if you get, merchandising, which is how George Lucas got so rich. Which he's because, you can't, fake the merchandising.
And then at
profits.
the time, no one knew that. Now you can't even get that.
No, you can't get
those
merchandising
deals
anymore, no.
Anymore, yeah. I think the other one is, the person who created Men in Black, I want to say, is someone who's those films have never been profitable ever, and he's never made any money off of it. So there's a few other big examples of this 4-movie multinational franchise has apparently never made any money.
I know on TV they're fighting back a little on that. I know I think it was David Boreanaz, and I don't know the girl's name from Bones. They were producers
on Bones.
One of the Deschanels. I don't know her first name. I believe this is what happened. They're producers on Bones, and then they didn't get any money for the last few seasons once they became executive producers because the show didn't make any money, air quote, and they sued, and I think they got money.
Good
for them.
Good
Good for you,
Good.
Boreanaz and Deschanel.
Good.
I'm pretty sure that's what's happened.
Yeah, and it just goes to show that, remember, companies are never looking out for your best interest.
No, they're not.
Never. Even when you are an international superstar, you can be George Miller on your fifth Mad Max film.
You've made them millions of dollars.
Companies are never looking out for your best interests. So that's just the anti-capitalism corner of Talk from Superheroes.
That's why we're not incorporated.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to be one of those
We don't want to be
businesses.
one of those people. Companies are never looking out for your best interest. But we're talking about Mad Max Fury Road.
We are talking about Mad Max Fury Road. If you're interested, we actually covered the very first Mad Max on the Patreon this week. So we may make a few references to the first one because we just watched it. We wanted to try to get the whole Mad Maxian spectrum.
Yeah. See the origins. Get the scope of the beginning.
Yeah, the beginning was not what you expect.
It's really not what you expect. He's just kind of a cop in that first one.
He's more of a RoboCop than a Mad Max.
It's closer to RoboCop than it is what we think of as current Mad Max, but that episode is available right now over on our Patreon page at patreon.com/FromSuperheroes. Check out the different levels that you can subscribe at to get cool bonuses and extra episodes. But let's get into it, shall we? Let's talk about Mad Max Fury Road. All right, we have seen Mad Max Fury Road, I believe, for the first time since we saw it in theaters.
Oh, did we see this together in theaters?
I believe so.
That's lovely. Aren't we cute?
We are.
We go to see movies just for fun sometimes.
Just for fun sometimes.
We didn't even do a podcast
I think
about
this
it.
predated it, our podcast, I believe.
I don't think... we've been around for a minute. But I think maybe we
9
were
years ago?
Ooh. If it was, back then we were doing pure superheroes.
Yes.
You had to have a power.
Yeah.
So we would have been like, well, this is just cars.
This was a year before we did the podcast.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
My views are skewed.
Yeah, there we go.
View askew.
There we go. So this was a year before we did the
Just when
pod.
we went on cute dates.
Yeah, just going on cute dates, seeing movies.
It wasn't an obligation.
It was not an obligation. It was just a pleasure. But how did it feel today? Obligation, pleasure? Diana, did you like it?
Oh, absolute pleasure. This movie is so good. It is so close to being like a perfect film. It's pretty much there. I love this movie. It's beautiful. It's action-packed without having any exploitative violence. It tells an incredible story with so little dialogue. It feels, even though it's so like effects, not effects heavy because it's practical effects heavy and like action heavy, it still feels like a play, and it's so emotional, and it's like, it really grabs you. It's such a good movie. It looks so good. There's so many brilliant things happening here. It's everything I want in a movie. I want it to look good. I want it to be fun. I want it to be emotional. I want great performances. I want it to be, did I already say beautiful? God, it's so beautiful. It looks so good. I love Mad Max Fury Road. It's awesome. So I guess it's fine. I guess it's a fine movie. Andrew, did you enjoy Mad Max Fury Road?
I agree with you. It's a delight. I think that this is awesome. It's a love for me. This movie just rocks beginning to end. It's great performances. It's great visuals. It is a great story when it shouldn't be. Like,
it shouldn't be anything interesting.
Yeah, this is the exception to the rule. Like, when anytime that you learn anything in life, and the example in this one would be like filmmaking and screenwriting, when it's like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And there's someone who's like, what about this thing? Mad Max Fury Road is the exception to the it does so many things that you should not do in a script, in a story, but it executes them well and it does it right. And it just looks good. The vibes are impeccable. Very visual-driven storytelling, but one that still has a core that works in almost every way. So I love it top to bottom.
Yeah, this movie gets me emotionally more than most movies that are just emotional movies, like movies with no action that are just
Oscar baits.
Oh, you're supposed to cry a little, and then they give this one the Oscars because it was it wasn't bait, it was just Oscars. Mm-hmm. It was just Oscar worthy. I think it got 6 Oscars or something.
Yeah,
it was crazy. So yeah, there's God, there's so much to say about this. Like the fact that it's mostly practical, the fact that it's so easy to see everything.
It is my favorite movie with a guy who plays a guitar that shoots flames.
See, I feel like that's belittling how good this movie is, but it definitely is.
But it also highlights one of the things that makes this movie rip.
That makes this movie crazy cool is that there's a guy who's like in bungee cords, like suspended, so he won't hurt himself while he's playing guitar.
But he's still, and it also gives him a bit of movement as well.
Oh, he does have.
It's not chained. It's not just an anti-fall. It's like you can still vibe the music.
Yeah, it's kind of like we saw Pink live, and she put herself in that harness so she could fly around the whole arena.
Yeah,
feels like that.
Yeah, this dude is the Pink of guitars that shoot gasoline flames
and wears pajamas.
And frankly, I would not be surprised if Pink does that on her next tour.
You know what? It's iconic.
Yeah. Yeah, she is an icon.
She is an icon. And so is this guy. Like, this guy was, like, in everything. Like, Conan O'Brien did a very funny sketch where he dressed up as this guy for
It's hard for me
Comic-Con.
now to not picture Conan O'Brien as the flamethrower car guy.
I actually also had this problem because flamethrower car guy with the guitar is, like, he almost never gets a close-up. It's always just like a panning shot, and he's here too, and you definitely notice him, but you're never like, that's definitely not Conan O'Brien.
Yeah.
You're always like, that could be Conan O'Brien.
Is that Conan O'Brien?
Is this the sketch that Conan O'Brien did?
Yeah. It could have been a re-edit with him in there, and it would have been just fine.
Yeah. What I love about Guitar Guy is that literally the character I mentioned earlier is the accountant, and his job is to like categorize like how much gas we've spent, how many cars we've lost, and you got to think that every week he's like, Immortan Joe, do we need Flame Guitar Guy? He is killing the gasoline situation. And Immortan Joe is like, we don't have radios, so absolutely we need him.
We need this guy. This is the only entertainment that we have as well. Like, there is this weird mix of like, of fantasy and reality that exists in this world that somehow kind of balances itself out, even though it shouldn't. Like, it really is a conundrum of like, I can't understand why it works, why it is a world of scarce resources that is also plentiful and wasteful at the same time. Where like it seems like it is there are fewer people, and there's a little bit left over from the old world. So therefore, the ones who are in charge can be wasteful if they choose, but the lower you are, the less wasteful you can be.
Yeah.
Like almost, it almost feels like that, like a Victorian type of a situation where it's like the chasm between poor to wealth is quite large, and some people can be wasteful, but only if like a ruler has decided so. Yeah,
it's like, I mean, there's quite clear parallels. I mean, if you really think about it, it's like Marie Antoinette used to take like milk baths, and then you've got Immortan Joe who's like, yeah, we just have all this milk from ladies instead of cows.
Lady milk.
Lady milk.
Milk.
That's like a
just
sign.
milk.
This milk. We can just call it milk.
We can just call it milk.
It's lady cows. It's.
I mean, think just humans, just human women.
No, but like, you know, it's lady cows, it's female women when you get milk.
Oh,
the milk situation.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I thought you were calling human women lady cows.
No, I was not.
That's
saying
I was.
The cows are ladies that make milk.
I understand.
I get it. No.
Breast milk.
But anyway, it's a sign of wealth.
Yes.
And in this world and in other worlds that have actually existed.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is a crazy, I mean, not to like go fully into our old Mad Max, the original Mad Max, but like think about like, you know, we've got this guy shooting like a crazy guitar with gasoline and he's the live music. And then you think of original Mad Max when it cut to Mad Max's wife playing a saxophone. It's basically the same thing and just as ridiculous.
You know what? It might be a little bit more, but yes.
Which one's more ridiculous?
Playing a saxophone 3 feet away from a human being.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
That one was more ridiculous. Yeah. I believe fire guitar so much more than I believed when it cut to his wife playing that saxophone live.
I do also believe him as well.
It's a very funny scene if you haven't seen it, you guys.
Yeah.
It's not trying to be.
Yeah, look up at least the saxophone scene from the original Mad Max. It's kind of wild that happened.
But I like this runner of George Miller's that he's like, there will always be live musicians doing something crazy in a Mad Max movie.
The arts will never die.
I actually really like that. And I even was reading like on the IMDb trivia, it even had like a quote from him where he was like, there is art, there is beauty in this world, because when you have nothing, you're going to scrape together like hope and beauty and reasons to live, which is what Furiosa and the wives are doing. But you're also going to do it with like the scraps you have. So you're going to make your car super cool, and you're going to, because like you said, you have all this extra stuff because there's all this stuff of humanity, but only like a couple hundred survivors.
Right.
So you've got so much stuff to work with to make art and to make things.
You have stuff and you have time.
Ooh, you got time.
And even though you may not have like resource distribution in the sense of like food, water, and shelter, you have like a knife and a plate of iron that people could do something with. So even the stuff like the inside of the truck, of the war rig, the ceiling is almost like this like Sistine Chapel, like hand carved painting of like a pattern of like skulls with the crosshairs over it, but perfectly repeating and like hammered into the iron of the ceiling. And it's like, that would take forever. And that level of art kind of existing in this world feels like it shouldn't, but also it very much makes sense.
Yeah, it very much makes sense because like, we're not going to be there for the boring parts of the life in the Mad Max series, but the way that the War Boys are so excited to go on a hunt leads me to believe that there's not that many hunts. So like, they're hunting Furiosa and they're very excited about it, but most days is like, you want to go carve stuff in the rig again, or what do you want to do? Like, there's one guy who plays guitar. There's no TV. There's no books.
Yeah.
There's no gardening. There's no foraging. It's a desert. Really, it's just let's carve shit into metal. Most
days is like Nicholas Holt's character is basically just like planning on spending the day off, just getting a blood transfusion.
That's his whole day.
That's most days, is just kind of like recouping.
Yeah, trying to survive.
Yeah.
But like not having any means of trying to survive. Like not like you can't hunt anything, you can't forage for like food. You're just like, I guess we're just blood bagging it again.
You're waiting for death or a mission.
Yeah,
and
they
that's
really
it.
are. And you feel that from the War Boys.
Yeah.
This world is rich.
Yeah.
It's a rich, interesting world, and it looks so good.
And I will say that the War Boys and like everything about these cliques and these like rival groups and everything feel way more real and believable on a second watch than they did the first time. I feel like the first viewing, when I saw this in theaters, and I feel like when it was very much a part of popular culture and popular conversation, the kind of takeaway was like this chaotic anarchists, like the guys who spray paint their mouths, huff fumes, and yell, "Witness me," and then do something completely chaotically insane. But rewatching it this time, I was like, oh, that's just kind of like a moment of your life that is the end. And it actually feels way more believable. It actually feels more akin to the prior 2,000 years of human history, which is us for 350 days a year, just kind of living in an agricultural society and then waging occasional religious wars because a higher up told us to, and then us believing that that is going to send us to a better place fanatically in those final moments of battle. And it's just like they seemed less like caricatures on the second watch, and it felt more like a sincere reflection of who we've been for most of time.
I completely agree. Yeah, I remember thinking, I was like, man, the War Boys, they don't make any sense. Like, why are they so white? Like, why do they love paint in their mouths? What is up with this enjoyable thing? But yeah, on a second viewing, it's so clear. It's like, oh, this is a cult. They worship Immortan Joe. These are the practices they've been taught. Right before you die, you do the witness me. This is how you will be sent to Valhalla via his instructions. So it's like, but it has to be witnessed. You have to be led into Valhalla through this way. I'm like, oh, there's so much more structure than it seems. It's not chaos.
Yeah.
This is a fully structured religion built around this man. It just feels like chaos when you're like, there's so much to take in. But yeah, exactly. On a second viewing, I completely agree. You're like, oh no, there is a huge social structure here.
Yeah.
And a religious structure.
Because I remember thinking that one of the weak links of the story on first viewing was Nicholas Holt's character, Nux, who I don't believe they ever say his name on screen, or I can't recall.
One of the wives does, but it get kind of lost in a sentence because it doesn't sound like a name.
And I think the only reason it's even on screen is that it's carved into his gas pedals as well. So he has that. But either way, Nicholas Holt's character, I remember as one of the War Boys, I remember that being one of the weak links of the movie for me on initial viewing, where I was like, these people don't really make sense. And this turn of like, I embarrassed myself in front of Joe, and now I don't know, is there something else out there in the world? Can I help people? And I'm like, that turn didn't really work. But on this viewing, I was like, I actually get this character more than I do anyone else, and I really connect with it on this viewing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I connect more with Furiosa and the ladies, but
Sure,
but I agree that Nicholas Hoult works. I don't remember thinking if he worked or not on the first viewing. I remember being like, Witness Me's dope as hell. It was always really cool.
It's a cool thing to yell. It made them cool, like caricatures, but it didn't make them feel real, but it made them feel like awesome set pieces.
Yeah, they did. But I agree that in this viewing, I do feel like he has like a journey, and you actually feel it. Like from even from like right off the top when the brides won't kill him. Mm-hmm. You kind of feel like he's never been offered compassion or caring before. And like, that's kind of just like, oh, that's the first seed. And then like he embarrasses himself. And I think his like Lancer dies. And I think he feels responsible. Yeah. So like two kind of things kind of happen. He's shown kindness for the first time. And you're like, oh, I think he is like, I do see his journey into like wanting this. And then he falls into the same redemption story that Furiosa and Max are like falling into, of like, we're all trying to find redemption in this broken world. Yeah. Except the wives who are like, we've done nothing wrong ever. And they haven't. And we deserve freedom. But yeah, so like everyone in this movie has a beautiful story. Like from top to bottom, like Max in his own way, like a little less because I don't really know what the flashbacks are about, but like Furiosa makes me bawl tears, her story. The story of the wives is just like their want for freedom is so ingrained and you can feel it so powerful. It is such a powerful story that is also just like so many cars explode. It's such a cool movie.
Everything visually looks so good.
And
but
it's
like
practical and it's cool, but you're also like, oh, by the way, there's like a beautiful story here. It's going to make you cry like 5 times.
And the world works. And I think they do a really smart job of making everyone's story so important, kind of except for Max. Because Max, I think, works as that character. He works as that Snake escape from LA, this might as well happen wanderer through town.
I love our description of Snake from Escape from LA as this might as well happen. You're right. No, it's very Max. Like, I'll do the right thing if it's like right in front of me.
Yes.
If it's right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I'm forced into it.
Yeah. Academics will call it a reactive protagonist. We call it this might as well happen personality.
We're more fun than academics.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, he'll do the right thing if it's right in front of him, but for the most part, he just kind of like he just doesn't want this, and he's like, I would like to go lay down alone, please.
I would just like to be alone in a car for a little bit. Yeah, I want to get away. But yeah, they do such a good job of almost silently building, I'm not going to call it a friendship, but a partnership with Max and Furiosa. Yeah. Which is really just like our dual survival is dependent on us getting away. And we never really have to talk about it. We work well together and we've kind of just silently decided that we're partners and we fully trust each other. And it's not romantic and it's not friendship, but like
it's just respect.
It's bond. It's still a bond of like, no, he's got it. No, she's got it. Like, I trust you to go blow up the guys who are chasing us through the wet sand, and he trusts her to like do the sniper shots. Like, it's pretty cool.
I think it kind of goes back to something that we've come across a rare few times on the podcast. It is when characters cross paths in different acts of their storyline. So it's like, a movie has a 3-act structure, but it's like Max is in his 3rd act and Furiosa is in her 1st act. And just that crossing of like protagonists who respect that one another are the lead of their own story. And I think that that's what really works, is that I wouldn't describe this movie as an ensemble cast. I would describe this movie as having 2 characters who are the lead of their own story, who are are crossing paths with one another.
Holy shit, that is a great way to describe this movie. Yeah, because Max is like, trying to escape, trying to survive, trying to find redemption. Furiosa is trying to help the wives escape, but also find redemption. But like, they're not going the same way.
Yeah.
They are crossing paths on their own stories that are fully fleshed out and like in progress. That's a great way to describe this. And like, that's very difficult to make work.
Yes.
Because most movies that try this, you're like, who's this person? Like the second person usually that gets introduced, you're like, what do you mean we're mid-story on this person? Like, I need to know where they're from. I need to know their motivations. I need to know how this happened. Mm-hmm. But this movie does such a good job of being like, yeah, the brides like are just in the truck. We don't need to see her sneak the brides into the truck. We don't need to see, we get it. She's a person of power in this community, and she snuck the brides into the truck.
And as far as like Max goes, as the character who's kind of later in his career, as he's in his story as he's moving through, it's also a very bold choice of this movie for 40 years later to have the confidence to be like, it's Max, he's here, don't worry about it. Especially when like
this might as well happen. He's here, don't worry about it.
This might as well happen. Even though the Mad Max films are certainly like important and people have an awareness of them in popular culture, I wouldn't say that they're pivotal. Like they are treating Max with the confidence of Batman. Like if they made a Batman movie where it was just like kind of like the Dark Knight comic book where it's like, this is an older Batman, he's here, you know who fucking Batman is, right?
You know who this is.
They're kind of doing that with Max, which even though he has cultural penetrating power and like those films are something that like a lot of people know and are aware of, it's still a very bold move 40 years later, and I don't think it has that staying power, but it works. It works that they do it like that, and that they introduce the wives and Furiosa as the ones that it's like, here's who you need to know about. Here's who you need to get to know.
Mm-hmm. And introducing him kind of in the third act this way, it gives him kind of a like Littlest Hobo vibe of like, this is the person he's run into this week that he has to help. I don't know if Americans got Littlest Hobo. Was that a Canadian show?
No, that was everywhere.
Was that everywhere?
I think,
guys, did you guys get the dog who helps people? It's a great show. It was filmed in Canada.
Yeah, was that everywhere?
I hope you guys got Littlest Hobo.
I presumed that went all across North America, but now you're making me question myself.
I don't know if I have another example of the Littlest Hobo, just like a gunslinger who
Kung Fu: The Legend Continues.
Oh, was that international? It also felt very Canadian. I bet they filmed that in Vancouver.
That was definitely filmed.
I bet they filmed in Vancouver.
That was definitely filmed alongside Highlander in Vancouver, but I know that it had international release.
Same stunt people foreshore, same settings.
Yes.
The same vibe.
Lone wanderer.
Lone wanderer who comes in and helps out the town kind of vibes. But yeah. So it's very interesting the way their stories intersect.
Yeah, absolutely. But I agree that Furiosa is just an absolute badass and really just rules.
She absolutely rules. I love how they let her rule without explanation. And we're getting a prequel, which is going to explain how she got to the point where she rules. But it really is just she shows up and she looks cool. And you're like, no, she's a woman who's got a position of power in this world. And we're not going to explain how she did or if she's like cutthroat or like what she had to do to get to this place. She says she needs redemption. And like we're supposed to just trust like she's done bad shit to get to this place in her life. But like we don't need to like explain it. Like she doesn't have to do a monologue about like, I had 5 brothers, so I had to be tough or some bullshit that other movies do, when they need a lady to be badass, they have to explain why.
Films that are very insecure about women being powerful, so they have to explain you why a powerful woman exists, and to be like, no, powerful women just exist. They're just around. Sometimes you meet them, sometimes you don't, but they're around all the time.
Yeah, they're just really smart and they survive.
Yeah.
She's from a whole fucking world of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the Wonder Woman of Mad Max.
For sure.
Of the Mad Max franchise. But yeah, she's so cool. She's so powerful. She's so smart. God, I can't get over how powerful it is when she finds her homeland and it's like gone.
Yeah.
Like this story of like having 19 years of being like, I think the green place was real. I think I was from there and I'm going to try to get these girls there. And to find it and to find your people and to find out it was real, but it's gone now. It's wow. So much happens in that scene and you can really feel all of it. And when she drops on her knees and there's that shot of the sand just blowing in the wind around her, this is iconic to me. This is an iconic shot.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I really think on second viewing it means so much in the in the scene of what was once the Green Place. All of their existence in the kind of mud-filled wasteland, that wasteland of blue, them literally pulling out the last tree on their journey.
Oh shit, they did pull out the last tree. And like the crows still live there is the only thing that survived.
Yeah. She literally pulls out the last semblance of her homeland. Like she destroys where she was from on her journey.
I mean, Max did that. But she was part.
But like I think the symbolism of it is
this place is done.
Yeah.
This is over. We got to move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but I agree. Like her on her knees. That is a powerful imagery of like the screaming for what you've lost.
Yeah.
You know,
for like the hope you had, not just what you've lost, but like for 19 years, and not just hope you had that you gave to these women that you broke out.
Yeah.
Like that's, God, it's tormenting.
Yeah.
It's rough.
Yeah, it really is. And also just like the social undertones of like gender statements and sexism that are played within this as well, where it's like to call Furiosa, to compare her a moment ago, you compared her to Wonder Woman, to be like she is kind of from the Amazon, a seemingly, I'm sure we'll learn more now with this prequel film, but from a seemingly female-led society that is kind of based on the earth and agriculture and peace and kind of being at one with what can grow, a creative society versus coming now from this male-driven destructive society. And the group that they're with are called the War Boys.
Yeah, there's not a lot to play with there.
Yeah.
Not a lot of subtlety.
And they seem to be kind of educating the children that these women are giving birth to, that the wives are giving birth to, with this idea of like the world has always been like this. And the spray painting on the walls, when Joe kind of breaks in to be like, where are they? Where did you take them? It is this one kind of older female character, this matriarch. I don't know if she was the teacher or one of the older wives or whatever. And the spray painting on the walls all say like, but who did this to the old world?
Who broke the world?
Who broke the world? And this idea that like it's the War Boys. It is the patriarchy. It is the men who have been courting war for all of time who've done this to us and are lying to us about who it is that's perpetrating the world that we're forced to exist in. Well, we're trying to live in a creative world. They're trying to live in a destructive one. Mm-hmm. And I really kind of like how they tell that throughout this.
Yeah, it's definitely.
There's a lot of layers laid on top of it.
There's a lot of layers, but there's also like so few layers. It's like, yeah, men are destructive and women aren't. There's not that many layers, babe. It's like, yeah, men suck and women just help each other. I love that you saw all this complexity.
Oh. No, that's beautiful. 10 out of 10, no notes. I love that. That is beautiful.
It's so layered. Like 8 layers down until you're like, men suck, right?
It's so layered. No, it's one layer. Men are blowing it. Men are blowing it now, in the future, in the past. Men are just blowing it.
Men kind of ruined it. They ruined the green space. They hoard the water. They tie up the women.
Yeah.
And the ladies are like welcoming each other back into society and supporting each other.
Yeah.
So
I love that. Yeah, kind of one layer. You know what? Now that you kind of one layer.
It's a beautiful story, but it's only got that one layer.
Kind of one layer now that you say it.
That one layer. And then we see if women can fix the world because they're going to be in charge now.
Yeah, we'll see.
I got to say, I do love...
Or at least this area of the world.
I really love the messages inside the place where the brides were kept because it's like, who broke the world? Our children will not be warlords. And we are not things. And we are not things is fucking awesome. That is a great catchphrase. The only problem I have with the stuff written everywhere is I'm just like, man, you got to be so careful. Like, when did you do that part? Like, what if Joe comes in and you're mid-spray paint and you're like, oops. We weren't going to run away. No, we were just redecorating with some phrases.
Someone else did this?
Rictus? Why did you? Rictus can't spell.
Rictus is the big boy, right?
He's the big boy. I feel very confident he can't spell though, so I don't think he did this.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, I would be very like, I'm very curious about like, when did you write the messages, girls?
Yeah. And you know what? I think one of them wrote all of the messages. I think Zoe Kravitz's character is the one who wrote the messages.
Oh, the pregnant one was like very much let's get out of here.
Oh,
Zoe Kravitz was very like, I love guns.
Yeah,
She was cool.
That is fair. The pregnant one did not seem very like world aware.
Well, none of them are. They've lived completely sheltered lives inside a vault.
No. I understand that. But the pregnant one, and maybe this was just the performance, that was the weak performer of the group as well. Felt very like, I don't think you understand peril. Like it felt a little bit that. Yeah. So, but I think that Zoe Kravitz was the one who left the spray paint. But that's just kind of my read on the scenario.
She's the most badass of them. Yeah.
Yes.
She's the one who would be like, before we go, we are not things.
She feels like the tear down the system anarchist of the group. Which is one of the reasons why I like her the most.
That's fair. Oh, I mean, Zoe Kravitz rules.
Yeah, and also Zoe
I actually
Kravitz
forgot
rules.
she was a wife completely. I don't think I know who Zoe Kravitz was the first time I saw this. This was very fun to turn on and be like, oh, Zoe Kravitz? Lottie from Yellow Jackets? Hey!
Little Yellow Jackets in there?
Little Yellow Jackets hit. You're always kind of a badass in a cult, huh?
Yeah, you're always kind of stuck in a cult, ain't you?
Just kind of stuck in a cult with no food, huh? You gonna eat somebody?
You need somebody?
You
How's this
gotta
gonna
eat
play out?
somebody every now and then.
Yeah, and
I'm sure in the Mad Max
she tries to
world.
run back a couple of times, but then like
Finds her strength.
and then uses it as bait at one point,
Yeah,
which is really nice. There's a lot of great character growth in here.
There really is, and I really like that about the wives because like Furiosa gets to be a badass because she's clearly like lived in this world and has fought for everything she's had. But the wives have lived this sheltered life to the point where you're like, yes, of course they don't know how to physically fight or survive out here. They would have no way to do it. But they find their own ways of helping. Like, God, the moment when the pregnant wife opens the door so Immortan Joe won't shoot Furiosa because she knows they won't shoot her, it's incredible. It's like I love that the war boys will die for Immortan Joe and the wives will die for Furiosa. It's this really nice parallel of like, it doesn't sound nice to say it. I'm like, is Furiosa making a little cult? But that's just like friendship and survival and like trust and love. And like, the moment where she like opens the door and she's like, we can sacrifice ourselves for our own survival.
She never asks them to die for her.
No, she does
which
not.
is where I think
difference.
is the difference of empowerment as well. Is that
they
Morton
choose
Joe
to die for her.
Yeah.
But I love that. Like she finds a way to like fight back by just being in the line of fire. Zoe Kravitz is just like guns. The very meek girl is more like, I'm gonna rebuild the world with seeds. The redheaded girl like turns the war boy.
Yeah.
To like kind of increase their numbers and increase their strength and like their strategies. And he's like, I know how they're gonna do this. I know how the rig runs.
And also just like she is like a symbol of hope as well, to be like things can change, which is what I think her character is meant to be the embodiment of.
Yeah, so they all just have this really nice story. And like, I love the wives because George Miller did this in the first Mad Max. So I couldn't believe he did this in the 70s, which is like having women who have clearly been like abused and assaulted, but not being exploitative about that.
Yeah.
Like creating like safe spaces like to tell this story that isn't like, I feel uncomfortable. It's like, I actually feel empowered, which is crazy. Because this is about 5 women who have been kept captive and used as breeding.
Because this is 3 bad scenes away from being Sucker Punch. You know what I mean?
Like worse than Sucker Punch.
Yeah.
Just being like a terrible, like, gross. Like, and it's not at all. It's a gorgeous story about women who have been used as breeding stock. And that is insanely hard to do. And I am just so impressed.
Yeah.
So impressed.
Yeah, it's done tactfully, and it is done without any kind of like embellishment or being like or like showing too much. They let you know what you need to know without kind of sitting in it and without being voyeuristic about it.
It's never like, let's like indulge in the trauma and the tragedy. It's like, no, you get what happened. They're getting away.
Yeah.
You get it.
You get it. You get it.
Here's a weird question. Just because I remember this really bothering me the first time I saw the movie, and it didn't even seem to happen here the second time, so I don't think they changed it. The first time I saw this movie, it's the scene when Max finds all the wives, and they're like drinking the water and cleaning off. Like he's just running into them for the first time.
Okay.
And I remember the first time I watched this movie thinking, turn off the fucking water. There was so much water being wasted. And on this viewing, I was like, I don't feel like the water was on as long this time. Did you clock this scene at all, or is this a weird thing that only bothered me?
It bothered me both times. I think to stop to bathe in general and just kind of like
They weren't drinking it.
They weren't drinking it, and it was just kind of a like we've got to like let's clean up a little bit, and it's like you know that you're still in a high speed pursuit.
They're 10 minutes behind.
Yeah, they're not that far behind, and I realize that this is something maybe that you want to partake in, but it actually also seems that like that other like you've been robbed of your freedoms, but you have had other luxuries in society that a lot of the peoples of this world haven't had. So I feel like you've had bathing.
So they're like, well, you got to stop to have a drink.
Yeah.
And have a bath.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it is weird that Furiosa is not yelling at them in this moment to be like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Get back in the truck.
It's a bad way to do a chase scene.
Yeah. Because, like, they use the water later to, like, cool down the engines, but that is not what they are using the water for in this moment when Max turns around the corner.
And I don't even mind being wasteful with the water, because I do also think that this is a society of control and not scarcity. So obviously, I think globally resources are scarce in the sense that like there is, a Morton.
Immortan is how I say it?
A Morton Joe's.
I don't know if this is a word.
Sure.
I don't know what's happening.
But there's a Morton Joe's world, which seems to be in control of like water and agriculture, and then there's like the Bullet Boys, and then there's the Oil Boys,
Gastown.
Gastown. So they have control of certain resources. So there is some global scarcity. But for the most part, it seems like it's an artificial scarcity, because even when they like open up the water reserves, the tanks to pour it down on the people to be like, here you go, drink up. There's like 4 buckets of water that get to the people per 10,000 lost gallons that go kind of into the air, on the rocks, in the sand. There's just mud. And it's like, there are more efficient ways to give this to the people. But I actually think that this is not in any way about scarcity. I actually think that there is probably enough for everyone to the point of perhaps abundance. But you're purposefully being wasteful because you don't care, because there is enough to waste.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, they said they like pump it out of the ground deep below. There's definitely like just tons of water down there.
Yeah, yeah.
So I agree with that. I don't know if I agree that there's a lot of gas. That seems insane. But because we don't even have a lot of gas right now.
Now,
but water is like, yeah, there could be water.
I actually don't know. This is something I've been thinking about that I would actually like to speak to someone who is more knowledgeable on the subject to understand, to be like, if one oil field, say that there is one like good oil field that is pumping oil and gas, that is still active, kind of like post-apocalypse for whatever reason, with imagining modern day infrastructure, it continues to exist, and it's one good one. If that is something that today can provide enough gas or oil for entire cities, even though this seems wildly wasteful, I'm like, this is
20 cars?
20 to 30 cars kind of driving, I'm going to say, less of a distance than I've driven for stand-up comedy gigs. You know what I mean? There's more on any Toronto street on any given day. There's more gas expended than I'd say the entirety of this film, easily. So, like, yeah, we've got maybe 30 cars going a couple of 100 kilometers, which in the grand scheme of things, I'm like, I think maybe one good functioning oil field could almost infinitely supply that, or at least within several lifetimes.
One shot showed a pump going.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
So like that they didn't.
There is infrastructure. There's infrastructure.
You got me there.
But I don't know enough about like, I would like to speak to someone who knows that industry, or knows like the like how many gallons per blah blah blah, and like what the math would be to be like, yeah, if society only had 90 fucking cars, how long could we run those 90 cars and be wildly wasteful about it?
So you're saying like gas guitar isn't that far off?
Potentially.
It's not that wasteful.
I think potentially.
I'm you're kind of winning me over here with the numbers game you're playing of like how much oil those things make and how little we need. Now, I also don't know the difference between oil and gas. I mean, like, I do, but I don't. I know we kind of need both, but I also don't know if we do need both. Or if you can retrofit a car to only need one.
I have known, and I don't have the ability to recall it. That's something I have learned, and I didn't retain it.
Well, get to learning in case of apocalypse.
Just in case.
In case of apocalypse,
Just in
you
case.
got to know how to retrofit a car.
The more I think about it, the more I'm like, one day in Toronto uses more gas than
For sure.
all of Mad Max's
millions
society.
of people in Toronto.
Yeah. And granted, we're getting it from multiple places. But either way, now I'm getting into a whole mathematics problem. Now I'm getting into a mathematics problem where it's like, I think that the bullets are probably the more scarce of things. Where I'm like, I don't really know.
It's hard to make a bullet. I don't know how hard it is to make gunpowder. But we made gunpowder in like the 1500s.
That's true.
We've been making gunpowder.
We've been making gunpowder for a minute.
So I think we're fine. I think we solved it. I think you're right. There's an abundance of stuff.
There is an abundance, and it's just a matter of
food.
distribution. Yeah, maybe not food. I don't know what the deal with food is.
The soil does seem fucked.
That's why
Immortan Joe has to like grow food like up there.
Yeah.
And like away from stuff.
Other than that little bit that he has high up.
Yeah, that little bit of food. I don't know what everyone else is eating. The war boys are eating spiders and shit.
Yeah, I mean, like, he ate a bug. At one point, he eats a bug. That's it. I don't know how much nutrients you get out of a blood transfusion. Maybe whatever Max had in him, he's getting too.
Oh, Max had a salamander.
Max did have a double-headed salamander at one point, so that's
double the brain nutrients.
That'll get you through the day.
I mean, I will say, I feel like Max really needed to pass out at the end of this movie. Because writing-wise, it's actually really impressive and well-structured. Like, I'm a blood bag, and then I give a blood transfusion to Furiosa. I've already got the lines set up. It's actually incredible script writing. It works really beautifully of how he saves her, and, like, we have all the stuff and the knowledge. From a, like, just human perspective, I'm like, I've given blood with a nurse nearby who was like, that's enough, and been like, ooh, I'm a little woozy. You give blood all the time. To do 2 huge transfusions in a day.
Yeah. Max
is taking a nap.
You shouldn't be doing 2 in a week. You should not be doing 2 in a week.
I can only do 2 every 60 days. One every 60 days.
Yeah.
I think you're 30, but
yeah. But either way, like, these aren't ideal circumstances, but 2 in a week is rough. With the injuries, with the hits, with the blows, with the lack of sleep, lack of food.
I'm going to say they're not like cutting him off at the point that the blood places here are. Because the blood places here are like 1 bag, you're done.
Yeah. They're just letting him go.
They're draining him.
Yeah.
So I just think Max needs a cookie and a nap and should not be conscious.
He deserves both.
He deserves both.
He deserves both a cookie and a
asleep.
Nap. Yeah. I understand that he wanted to fade into the background at the end, but I'm like, you need to go up that elevator and get a cookie and a nap, sir.
You're going to have to, you know what, Max, I'm sorry. You're going to need to drink some of that milk.
You're going to need milk.
You're going to have to drink the milk.
You're going to need milk,
It's nutritious. It helps you get through the day.
You got it. And they're probably going to set you up with some milk.
They're going to set you up. You're going to pass out the second you walk out of town. Yeah. You're going to die in the desert. Yeah. That's why we can't have more Mad Max movies. He went around the corner, he passed out from blood loss, and he died.
Gone.
And it was sad. Or he passed out, and then everyone, like, carried him, and they were like, is this the guy who helped you? He just, like, passed out immediately. And Furiosa would be like,
here we go.
Inside.
But she's also hanging on by a thread as well.
Yeah, but she's
got
up.
His blood.
She's going up to get water and milk.
She is going up.
She's going to see what they got up there.
She's working on it there. I do want to say one other big compliment that I want to give to this movie is not only is it visually stunning in terms of its chase scenes and obviously like its stunts, what they did practically, its lighting, its color, how it looks, how it is executed. It is all incredible. It's great stunt work. It is great chase scenes. But they also do a really good job of maintaining tension throughout all of these chase scenes where, like, it is not just like, whoa, holy shit, that car did 8 rolls. Like, that's cool as hell. And that is cool as hell. But it's just like, oh my God, that car did 8 rolls, and I that has been tied into emotion and tension, and can they make it, and will they do this? And like, oh my God, one of the wives like fell off the truck and has been run over, and now Joe's car is doing a roll, and like just this level of like everything is connected to some storytelling element, which I actually felt myself sincerely like leaned forward and engaged and literally on the edge of my seat for almost the entirety of this movie.
This movie is perfectly paced and makes you perfectly engaged by creating enough characters that you care about that you're like, some of them are going to die and it's actually going to be heartbreaking. But like, they also create characters you care about by making it very clear that the war boys, despite being called war boys, are actually quite innocents. they don't know anything else. They've been raised to go to war. They like that this is their only glorious moment. Like Nicholas Holt's character going through all this and like the wives not wanting to kill him makes it very clear. It's like, oh, every war boy that dies is kind of a tragedy because they never really had a chance in this world. But also you introduced enough wives, and then we find all Furiosa's people to be like, I care about all these people. And they created such good backstories for them of like the one older woman who's been holding the seeds because she believes that like we can rebuild society. The other lady who gets hit by a truck later who like hugged Furiosa and remembered her. Like they introduce enough characters that you actually like love and care about, but you're also like, we are going to lose a few. And you're like, I sincerely don't know which ones we're going to lose. And it's kind of rare to like actually care about the ones that are like smaller parts that you're like, oh man, I really didn't think you were going to kill the pregnant wife of all the wives. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That one really like, I was like, whoa, holy crap. So yeah, you really are the whole time. But then again, that pacing's so wonderful because it's like such a long chase, but they do let you breathe. You get to the wetlands and it's a little bit slower. You meet Furiosa's people and you do have a minute to be like, oh, we're okay. And then it like hitches back up because 2 hours of no breathing is kind of too much.
Yes.
You do need that rest point.
You can't hold your tension. Like too much of one thing is just nothing.
Yeah.
It's
so
just nothing.
It's perfectly paced with character introductions and like letting the action sit for a minute and just breathing for a moment and then going right back into it.
And letting these characters change in those moments that they sit as well. Because they always change. Like whether it's the quiet moments of the war boy kind of becoming part of the group, the quiet moments of Max and Furiosa bonding, the moments of Furiosa finding her people and finding out that her place in this world is gone, and then deciding to turn back as well, which is one of those things that like it's a crazy story structure that this movie is about going from A to B and then back to A again, which is something that seems kind of like silly and pointless and is not how anyone would ever recommend writing a script or telling a story, to be like go somewhere and then realize that it was pointless and kind of try to go home. Isn't really much of anything. But it works here because it is this emotional crux for Furiosa to be like she's been running away from something and now she's running towards something. Of that, like she's been trying to run back to where she came from, but now she's going to go build something, which is what her society has taught her, which is kind of build and regrow, and she needs to kind of make the decision to go do that. So it's these good character moments in the quiet pieces as well.
Yeah, the character moments are good. I will say, I think this story actually like happens quite a bit of going from A to B back to A. But I think most movies, it's like, we're going back to A. It's like, oh, I have to go from A to B to get like resources to go back and take over A. If A is going to be a place that you go and take over or something.
Sure.
I mean, so like I think that happens before. I think it's rare for this movie to be like, we don't plan on going back to A. We're escaping A.
Yeah.
Is what's weird about it. But they make it work, which is insane.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. And so, but then other things in this movie, like just quick things we didn't talk about. I don't know if I've ever brought up lighting before, but this movie is so vibrant for a movie completely set in the desert. But also I think the most brilliant thing in the world is that they filmed the night scenes during the day. This looks so good. It's clearly nighttime. So they filmed it during the day and then they desaturated it. So it just looks like it's blue and it's nighttime. And it means you can actually see everything, but it still looks like it's nighttime.
Yeah.
But it's like, thank you. I love seeing things, even though it's supposed to be nighttime. It's a movie. We can just be like, yeah, you can see people even though it's nighttime.
And
it's so nice.
It's so nice, and they've executed it in a technical way that I do not understand. Because
tell me more.
filming day for night, well, like I can't because I don't understand it, because filming day for night is a thing that's actually done quite commonly and is actually considerably cheap and poor looking a lot of the time.
Oh shit, this looks so good.
It is something that you will see a lot of the times where like that we just put a blue tint on everything. Of like it is the an episode of Stargate where it is nighttime.
How dare you?
I'm so sorry.
How dare that be your go-to bad-looking night? We're done here.
I also didn't want to throw Canadian television under the bus, but it is filming during the day because it's more expensive to film at night because they don't want to bring the lights in and they don't want to get the permits for it. But it is that, like, we filmed during the day, and then afterwards in the edit, we clicked on the color blue and then we pressed up. We turned blue up and then more blue. And this is that. It is simply
very
just
blue.
like additional blue tone to imply the color of moonlight, even though it was filmed during the day. But it doesn't look cheap. It is stylized. It has a different context to it. It has something to do with like the environment, the ambiance, and I think additionally what adds a mood to it is the fact that they have candlelight in a few places. So there's moments where it cuts to like the bed of the truck and a couple of the wives have like a little lantern in their hands and they're lit orange. So to add that layer mask to be like some orange exists and everything else is day for night and we turned blue up. Whereas usually when it's done cheaply, there's no multiple lighting sources to change things. So that I get a little bit that makes it work. But it's an effect that it typically looks cheap and shitty. And I don't know why or how they like exactly how they did it to make it not feel that. But it doesn't feel cheap and shitty, and it's something that should be cheap and shitty.
It doesn't feel cheap and shitty. I'm going to say they might have had a bit more budget than Stargate.
Yes.
The television show, not even the movie Stargate. You're going after Stargate, the TV show. So I'm going to say, yeah, budget, technical expertise. You're just like, yeah, we know we're switching it, so maybe use a different lens. I don't know.
What? Maybe it was the lens. No, I don't know. Maybe it's the lens.
Either.
Maybe it's the lens.
I'm saying it's just a money issue.
I'm saying it might be the lens.
I think George Miller is just really talented. And also, I wish I don't have her name open. Shout out to his wife who edited this movie.
Yes.
Because she's not, I don't want to say saved it in the edit, but he gave her 4 days worth of footage to cull through. It was like, make a movie. And Patton Oswalt has a really funny bit about this.
Terrific. About female editors versus male directors.
Yeah, about how male directors will just like film literally everything and then the woman has to find the story and the beauty in it and make 2 hours. And it's just like, yeah, it happens a lot.
It's why Star Wars is any good in any way.
Star Wars is another example, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question of what would you change. So now that we've discussed everything we've discussed, what would you change about this if you could change anything? Before we do ask the final question, we will remind you, as we do every week, to please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Spotify, wherever you might get your podcasts. If you are on Spotify, by the way, there is now an option on Spotify. There's a little bell button that, much like YouTube and other services, if you hit the little bell, you'll get notified when the new episodes come out.
Smash that bell button.
Smash that bell button.
That's going to be our new phrase.
Everyone's talking about it.
No, it's our phrase.
It's our phrase.
Everyone's
stop. Talking about how it's our phrase.
Okay, good. Trademark.
They're saying TM and then they're saying our names at the end of
Excellent.
it. So be sure that you are you subscribe and rate and review wherever you get the podcast. Rating and reviews help us move up the charts and help us find new listeners. And as well, if you do want to support the podcast monetarily, you can do that over on Patreon, which is a monthly subscription service. You can subscribe at whatever is in your budget. If you have $1 a month to kick in, literally all those dollars add up and are why we are able to do this as our full-time job and continue to do it and release these episodes. And you'll get our webcomic a day early for $1. At the $3 level, you will get these episodes early and ad-free. And at the $10 level, you will get exclusive bonus episodes of this podcast every single month, like this month when we did the original 1979 Mad Max.
And you also get access to all of the old ones. There are so many episodes of Talk from Superheroes waiting for you. They're full-length episodes, ad-free, about topics we never cover on the regular podcast. So if you're like, why have they never done that movie? What are they thinking? We might have done it on our Patreon.
So head on over and check it out, depending on what is in your budget. And also, you're not locked in. You can always change your level or cancel on any given month, depending on how your finances look. We appreciate you even thinking about joining. So have a look at the website and have a little think about it. It's at patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. That is patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. And thank you to all of our current and future patrons.
Thank you so much to our patrons for helping us do what we love for our jobs. It's awesome of you.
And now, let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question of what would you change? Diana, what would you change?
We didn't talk about this at all. Hopefully not a controversial opinion. I don't think Tom Hardy acts very well in this movie. I think he, physically is interesting. And then every time he speaks, I'm like, what are you doing, man? What's this? I'm not engaged in this in any way.
You're describing Tom Hardy.
Yeah, no, I like Venom.
Yeah.
I like Eddie Brock. I like his Eddie Brock a lot, and I don't like what he's doing here. And I like him in Inception, so I like Tom Hardy. This isn't me just slamming like Tom Hardy sucks.
And I didn't even mean to slam him just now. I just mean that he makes like bold kind of embodiment and vocal choices, which can be hit or miss.
Is this Bane with no mask? What are you doing right now? So I actually don't like the acting choices he's made whenever he opens his mouth. I'm like, I don't like, are you trying to do Mel Gibson or not? I don't know what this is. I don't feel very connected to what's going on here. I don't really believe it. I don't believe you talk this way. I just don't believe it. And not just because I have seen Venom since seeing this movie the first time. This hasn't changed a thing. So I don't really want to replace him, but I'm like, make different choices? Because I know Tom Hardy can do a great job. And I don't think this is one of those times. And when he's not talking, which is actually quite a bit of the movie, I think he's great. I think he's good at the action. I think when he's like tied up as the blood bag on the thing and his eyes are just like, fuck, this sucks. I think he's doing a good job because that does suck. But yeah, acting wise, I don't think he's good. And that is, I guess that's my change is like, do a better job, Tom Hardy. You're here to act. I don't like your choices. And it feels really mean now that I've said it out loud. But that's my change. I wrote it in my book, so.
You came pretty hard for him.
I could have stopped like a minute ago, probably.
You know what? I respect you for speaking your truth.
I feel, you know what? I actually feel kind of good. I
Good.
feel a little mean, but
Good.
I feel a little good.
Good.
Andrew, what would you change?
I'm not going to be 100% with you on that. I agree.
I'm not even saying everyone has to agree.
I agree. He may not necessarily be the highlight, but when you have 53 words in your script, there's not a ton to work with. And I actually think that one of my changes would be the positioning of him in this movie. Is that I honestly think that the troubled man flashbacks to the original films in this series do not work in any way. But you failed me. I'm like, just let Tom Hardy act and think about the thing. The visions and the hit on the head and I run down a hallway and see the literal ghosts of my past. I'm like,
and also, was this like a prophecy thing where you blocked the bullet because you knew the little girl was giving you visions, or? Yeah,
the visions do nothing for me, and I think in fact removes some of the agency from Tom Hardy's ability chance to perform and do something with this character. So I do agree that it's a very reserved performance. It only has 52 words. He doesn't have a lot to work with other than kind of physically being there and doing the action. But I think that he could be given an acting job and a performance job to do if this backstory wasn't kind of robbed with these weird flashbacks that it's as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, it's been 40 years. No one really is super fucking connected with who Max is.
No.
So we could be if you let an actor do it. But visions and references doesn't really do it.
No, I can completely agree with that, because I think you were really right to compare him to Snake Plissken earlier, who never gets backstories or flashbacks. He just shows up and he's cool, and you're like, there's a cool guy here now.
Yeah.
This might as well happen. And he's got leather, and he's probably going to save us.
Yeah.
But begrudgingly.
And begrudgingly. And sometimes he'll have a moment where maybe he could get away not having saved someone. And he will look and be a little exhausted, and he will convey that with acting, and he'll go save someone. And that is the story of him avoiding future regret.
Yeah, and I don't need a flashback.
In this, where it's Max, and then a ghost child is don't have regrets later. And I'm like, get the fucking ghost child out of here. A ghost child saying don't have regrets later removes any need for acting, and it sucks.
Some real Jiminy Cricket ghost child happening here. I'm you're going to regret this if you let the brides die.
So visions of the past, ghost children and all that, gone. Get it the fuck out of here.
I can live with that. Love that change.
That's where I'm at.
Bye.
Bye. Well, that's going to do it for Mad Max Fury Road. We fixed it. We had fun. Next week, we're going to be back. We're going to be talking about Furiosa, a Mad Max story.
Pew, 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 pew.
So we'll be back talking about that next week. In the meantime, if you want to get a hold of us, you can find me on Instagram or most places online at Ivimey, Ivimey.
You can find me on Instagram at Threads at Pics of Diana or Tumblr at Words of Diana.
And you can find both of us most places at From Superheroes. And you can find all of the podcasts that we produce and all of the content we create over at our website, fromsuperheroes.com. And we'll talk to y'all next week.
Bye.